can remember in my
How can anyone, whether they want to work in a language school or privately from their own laptop anywhere in the world, create a rewarding and impactful career teaching English as a second language, even if they are just starting out or have no teaching experience or ability? Hi, my name is Lynette Kim, and here on the TESOL Talk podcast, I aim to answer that very question.
early years of ESL teaching, the underlying anxiety building up when I'm teaching, if I'm burning through materials too quickly, and I know there's going to be a point in the lesson where I'm going to run out of actual materials according to the lesson and the theme to teach. And then at that point, I'm going to have to think about how I'm going to fill in 20, 30 minutes of lesson time, because there's just not enough. And this can happen, and it happens for various reasons. And I will do a set video on why lessons finish early, why materials burn out or run out too quickly. But in this one, this podcast, I'm just going to deal with what you do first. So there's a few things to consider. Number one, you should, as a go-to, firstly, extend what you've been teaching. So that means look at what you've been teaching already and look at ways that you can review, but in a different way. So perhaps pull out just something, an aspect of that lesson. Vocabulary is always good for this. So whatever vocabulary you've been teaching, it should have already been up on the board, new vocabulary. Have a way to review that with the students, put them into pairs and have them discuss that new vocabulary, practicing it again in pairs or groups and in this context of the lesson, and then give them other scenarios that this vocabulary would be relevant. So just say, for example, the lesson had been about cooking and they had learnt new vocabulary related to, cooking, like say sauteing, frying, boiling, all these sorts of things. So now you're going to say to them, right, you want to get into pairs and you're going to discuss a recipe that you cook regularly with your partner, and you're going to use this terminology, and if you make a mistake, your partner's going to help you. And then they're going to do that, and then after they've done that, you can swap pairs again, and then you can have the students stand up and tell what their partner had told them how to cook using correct vocabulary. And if they make a mistake, the class can correct them, because this is meaningful practice here. It's not about who can do it perfectly. It's about the maximum learning opportunity for everyone in the class. So these are great ways. Now, if you don't want to do it about the same theme, you can use this terminology in other scenarios. So it could be working in a restaurant. It could be just say other vocabulary. Well, actually, some cooking vocabulary you can use for weather, like it's boiling hot and things like this. But be careful about switching the context too far. Now, another thing you can do is the same deal, but review it with games. So instead of pair or group work to do more discussion, you can have a game, Pictionary or Backs to the Board. I won't go into what those are. You can look them up online. And you can play that in teams. That's heaps of fun. And that will go for a good 20 minutes or so. But again, it's reviewing the vocabulary that has been taught in the lesson, so it's relevant. Another one, and this is getting away. Another one is a discussion. So you can have a class discussion about the vocabulary or about the context of the lesson, about how helpful they felt that the lesson was, and if they felt that there was something that it was lacking and they wanted to learn. This gives you great information to either help them on the spot or do for homework and come back the next day as a review and cover their needs. So a discussion is great. These sorts of things, they usually go 5 to 10 minutes. So if it's just a short piece of time that you've got to fill in, then a little class discussion about the lesson and the needs great. If it's got to go longer, then you really need to be extending those materials and giving them an additional task, like I mentioned previously. Now, another thing you can do, which actually takes you out of the lesson altogether, is you can do a catch up with your students' needs and wants, discuss how they're going. Say, look, we've got a little bit of free time today, and I want to use this to discuss how you feel lessons are going for you, and do like a little bit of a needs analysis with the class. Now, if you've done a needs analysis in your TESOL course, you know how to do this. You can come up with questions straight up for the students related to, are they having a good balance of language skills like listening, speaking, reading, writing opportunities? Do they feel they need more of any of those or all of them? Do they feel that the vocabulary is challenging enough and they're learning new vocabulary? Do they feel that they are having their progress checked regularly enough? Like all of these sorts of things. Are they getting enough opportunity for communication in the classroom? Do they feel that the lessons are at their level? Don't be afraid to do this, because this helps you always keep on track with your students' needs. And it doesn't have to be an official needs analysis. It can just be an off-the-cuff one like this. Another thing you can do in these catch-up sessions is talk to your class about strategies. So if you're going to find out information that they need or want, then ask and work out together as a class, because especially if you're teaching adults, you want to come up with strategies on how they feel that they want this achieved. Now, obviously the onus is on you as a teacher, but it's really good to ask students, because sometimes they have something in mind and you want to make sure that you're always meeting their needs, not just making your job easier. So if you burn out of material and any worksheets you've got, everything you've got related to that lesson topic and theme is done, remember, review properly. But review by extending the students, pick something out like the vocab, it can be the grammar point, and put them into pairs and groups. And you can even put them quickly into pairs and groups to have a quick discussion using that vocabulary, doing like a little mini biography exchange, which I've talked about these in previous podcasts, what they are. But also you can then, while they're busy in pairs, you can write up onto the board specific questions, and then you can do that as a class. So, these sorts of things can extend your lesson over 30 to 40 minutes. So really, you shouldn't be having that much time to fill in if you are actually teaching correctly and setting up your lessons and your tasks correctly. But again, that's for another podcast, and we will deal with how to do this efficiently. So put these things into practice. It sounds simple, but truly done right, these are very meaningful ways to extend a lesson and the materials.